Welcome to the Beesies.
I'm Abby.
I'm Brittany.
I'm Jenny.
And I'm Mackenzie.
Remember the college days when you were best friends with your roommates?
We would come home and talk about anything and everything together.
We miss this phase so much that we decided we needed this quality roommate time again.
So welcome to the Beesies. Come over and get cozy with your new favorite roommates.
Guys, it's the first Monday of fall.
Like officially?
Is it?
Not currently
Oh,
today as we're
yeah.
speaking, but when this comes out, it's not the first day of fall. It's the first Monday of fall.
Really?
This
Okay,
will be our
because summer
first fall
ends
episode.
on September 21st, right?
Actually, I looked it up, and this year it's September 22nd, weirdly.
Okay,
I think
'cause
it's just like the
everyone-
way the sun cycles work and everything.
Everyone was just like, summer's over. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, it doesn't have to be.
Not
I
yet.
know.
I love summer.
We
I'm
still
so
have-
done with summer. I'm
Too
over
much
it.
Summertime.
Yeah. I just love the fall, so I'm okay with that. Also,
Yeah.
Abby, your anniversary is this week then, right?
I know. Yes.
5 years.
Thursday,
Right?
the 21st. Yes, 5 years.
That's crazy.
That's so
Yeah.
wild.
That's
fun. How are you
I
feeling?
know. I'm feeling old, which is weird because I'm not old.
Yeah.
I'm young, and I'm like looking back on my life being like, how am I 26 and married 5 years and have a kid? And
No, that's actually
Ooh.
crazy.
speaking of, actually, so funny story. Andrew and I bought a new car this last week, which we are so freaking excited about because our cars were trash and it just was
Nice.
a lot of issues. The guy selling us the car spent a good 3-4 hours with us, whatever. And then at the very end, something came up about like how old we are, whatever. And he's like, how long have you guys been married for? And we're like, 5 years. He's like, oh my gosh, I thought you were 18.
Oh,
This
That's a
whole
good
time
compliment.
He thought we had like just graduated high school.
oh my gosh. You're like,
That
we
is
actually
so
have
funny.
careers and college degrees and a child.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm confused. Like, so everybody in the world that I interact with is making me feel like thinks I'm younger than I actually am. I don't know. I
Hold
guess
on
it's
to
good
those
too, but-
compliments.
Yeah.
Cherish them.
seriously. Marriage
I'm-
just
I'm-
made like every time a classmate of mine finds out I'm married, they're like, how old are you? Because they also think that I'm younger.
Uh-huh.
And marriage just in general is just like crazy. Being married before 30 is honestly insane.
Yeah.
I
like,
agree.
It's
It really
crazy
is,
town
yeah.
to have done that.
It's just me and 3 crazies.
It really is. But
The other day,
Sorry.
You're good. This customer was talking to me and one of my other coworkers, and he was like, what do you want to do with your degree? And I was like, oh, well, like I might go back to school for marriage and family therapy. And he's like, that's the problem. He's like, there's all these people who are going to be marriage and family therapists and they've never been married. And I was like,
Oh,
sir, you're
do
wrong.
you not know?
And I was like, but also you're right. And then he was like, it's just like when these priests are out there giving marriage advice in churches. And I'm like, that is very different. They do not have an education. Like, Right.
Interesting.
But I was like, I'm actually done with this conversation. Yeah.
that is so funny.
It was wild.
That's crazy.
Or like you little teenager thinking that you're gonna teach grown married people
I
how to
know.
be married, and you're like, I've now been married for actually a couple of years.
Yeah. Which, granted, yes, I'm not the one to give marriage advice.
Sure.
But that is
For
more
sure.
because of a lack of education, not my personal experience. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyways, it was
Abby, I
funny.
want to know how much were you able to talk down the dealer
Oh,
on
yeah.
the price? Tell
Um,
us.
Actually, yeah, it's kind of a crazy story because we went in expecting a certain amount that we were like being able to buy based off of like Andrew's research.
Mhm.
And we got there, and then the guys, we told them all the information of like what monthly payment we want, what we're trading in, all this stuff. And he was like, oh, like you're not gonna be able to, like, he thought that what we could afford was actually about $5,000 cheaper than what we had anticipated. And then he was showing us those cars. We thought we were gonna get like a sedan, like a small car. We looked at the small cars and I just kept being like, this is not gonna work. Like, we have to fit a car seat in here, we have to fit a kid, like it doesn't have high clearance.
Yeah.
I kind of need a high clearance vehicle, all this stuff. And then he started showing us like mid-size SUVs, like those crossovers, which is what we already had, and that's what I wanted, but I was like, I know I'm not gonna get. Anyways, way over what they originally told us we could afford by like $10,000.
Oh my gosh.
But we still got it in like what we wanted with like the monthly payment we wanted and everything like that. So it worked out in the end. It's like a little bit of a stretch for us still, but it's less of a stretch than what we thought we would have originally needed for a vehicle like this.
Yeah.
So that's good.
How long
What
is
car did you
That's
get?
awesome.
What? One question at a time. Sorry, Jenny, go first.
What car did you get?
We got a 2016 Honda CRV.
I love that.
I'm so excited.
It's
It
nice.
is bigger than our Tucson, so but it's like the same kind of like family. So we just have like more cargo space, more room in the back seat. And then it's like all-wheel drive, high clearance, which is perfect for me. And like I need to go off-roading for work and stuff. It's just like the
Slay.
perfect car for us.
It's really nice.
That's awesome.
It looks so nice.
Yeah.
How long is your term? Is it like 60 months or?
Yeah, it's a 5-year loan.
Oh, that's not bad.
So that's what you're talking about? No, I mean, that's what we basically went in saying we don't want anything over, well, we originally said like a $200 payment, but we were like our max would be $300. And because it was like the ideal car, we were like willing to push it. So we said we don't want to go over $300 a month and we want to do a 5-year loan. And they made that happen. So now we have a new car. New-ish to us, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very excited and I'm ready to go on a road trip. Ready to
Yes.
like drive it everywhere because it's just like perfect.
Let's do it.
Love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Road trip to see
Anyways.
Jenny.
Yeah.
Wow, that would be so fun.
I would love to do that. I want to do that eventually. We just need to wait a little while for work to calm down.
True.
But that would be so fun.
Anybody else have anything exciting happen this week? I had literally
Nor.
nothing.
We went to the comedy show, Brittany. That was fun.
How
Oh,
could you forget?
Actually, yeah. And Scott also just reminded me, I actually went to a concert this week too. So,
Oh, yeah.
Abby and I and friends went to a comedy show, Taylor Tomlinson. It was so freaking funny.
So funny.
Really?
And also, Scott and I, with a couple we work with, went to a concert last week. That was also so fun. We
That
went
is
to,
so
none of you probably know who it is, but his name's Chloe Kai. I actually am wearing his shirt. Represent.
Whoa.
Oh, I was watching all of the videos from you guys and was like, oh,
Yeah.
this looks like a fun
It
person.
was so fun. He's a Hawaiian singer. And so, like, the vibes there were so good because there were so many, like, Hawaiian natives and everyone was so happy and just instantly your best friend. And it was general admission,
Mhm.
too. So it was fun because you're all just, like, standing in this big room. But
I love those
Nice.
shows.
it was so good. It
That's so fun.
was a good concert. It was super fun. So, yeah, that happened this week, actually.
That's lit fire.
It's been a long week, so.
Yeah.
The
The comedy
lit fire
show.
fun times. Oh.
Oh.
Sorry.
Sorry. I just was thinking since we went to the show the other night, it was so fun. I laughed so hard, and it made me think about how, like, you know, when people say like sometimes you get in an emotional rut, you need to like laugh more and smile more, and like, you know, laughing actually, like, even if it's fake, tricks your
Yeah.
body into thinking that it's real and
Uh-huh.
makes you more positive. I was like, we should actually go to more comedy shows because this would be like, I just feel like if you were to do this on a somewhat regular basis, like if you're depressed, just go to a comedy show and like laugh a little bit, you know?
If you're
2
depressed,
hours of laughing, guys.
just pretend you're not.
It'll cure you. Like, basically, that's the cure to depression.
So true.
It is.
I would love to go to more comedy shows.
Yeah.
I saw Pete Davidson will be here next week, so
Whoa.
we could go,
I
Jenny,
wonder
if you
if
come
he's
back.
funny. Yeah, I'll fly back.
Jenny, what were you going to say?
I was just saying, I had lit fire fun times last week.
Nice.
I was just vibing. On Thursday, my friends came over and we went in the jacuzzi and watched a scary movie after. And then on Friday, I went to the beach with the Latino Association, like the Law Student Association.
That's fun.
And that was lit. And then we all came to my house afterwards and hung out and also went to the jacuzzi again. And then Jacob came into town
Oh, yeah.
and we just chilled.
I love that.
How
And I
long has
ran
it
by the
been?
beach this morning.
Nice. That living California life is just a dream.
Mhm.
Going to
It
the
really
beach every
is.
day. How long has it been since you saw Jacob last?
It was only like a week or something. Now
Oh,
this
okay.
time it'll be like 3 weeks until I see
Mm.
him again.
Dang,
A bit
that's
longer.
hard. I
Yeah.
would like to put this out there that when we are famous enough to do merch, one, we need to find a way to do comment down below. And second, I would like a shirt that says Lit Fire Fun Times now.
Ooh, I
Mhm.
love that.
Because that's dope.
I'm downsies. Kenzie,
You-
nothing, no updates.
Nothing crazy.
That's okay.
Nothing worth bringing up.
That's okay. Should
Yeah.
we get into it then?
Yeah.
Get into the fun topic for today.
Mhm.
So- We liked what we did last week, and it seems like a lot of people, a lot of listeners also like this. So, last week, if you haven't listened yet, basically we all came with our own topic that we wanted to talk about for 10, 15 minutes, surprised each other with it, and then we spent that much time talking about it. So today we're going to change it up a little bit and do like one of us came with a topic, which was me, by the way. And you guys don't know what the topic is yet, but I have it in my brain. I have been thinking about this. My brain has been just going on a ramble. So
Nice.
we're going to talk about that for a little while and get into some interesting stuff, okay?
I'm so excited.
Mhm.
It is so much more fun to like come to the episode and be like, I'm also surprised. Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I'm into this.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I was thinking, guys, the other day, because I have had this conversation with a few women now in my life, my friends, my girls, whatever, a couple people. Not actually you guys, I haven't, but other people that I know. Okay, so when it comes to finances with mine and Andrew's relationship, I am not the budgeter. Andrew lives for budgeting. He needs a budget in order to stay sane. And I cannot stay sane with a budget. So I was talking with my sister about this and some other people, and it seems as though they have similar dynamics where they do not like budgets. They hate budgets, and their partners, their husbands specifically, like it. Like they need it. And now I'm thinking, is this a guy girl thing? Like, is this a gender specific thing? And that's just what my brain was on, where, with the whole girl math stuff coming up and everything like that. I found it interesting that so far most women I know say that they hate budgets.
Yeah.
So I was thinking I want to use that as kind of a going off point to talk about the dynamics of like money and finances within all four of our relationships, because we all are very different, like dynamics, perspectives, backgrounds, everything like that. And while I don't think we are qualified to give any financial advice, anything you hear in the any info you hear in this episode is probably the worst information you've ever heard.
No,
But
the best.
I think it's helpful and useful to at least have these conversations with each other.
I
So,
love this.
Yeah.
love it. So what is the dynamics between your guys' relationships?
Vibes only. No budget. Not really. So Scott and I kind of do it different. Like we do every couple months, just kind of like look over our budget like we did recently, kind of just because we have to start paying his student loans, or we did this month. We are fortunate though that what we make is it's a quite a bit more than what our like monthly expenses are. So we don't really need to have a tight budget per se. We just are kind of like mindful of our spending, I guess. The one thing I guess like budget wise that we do is each paycheck, we have a set amount that like we have a specific savings account that we put like our like rent money into and our bills money. And so each paycheck we each just put in like $500 to that. And then we just pay off our credit cards, pay our cars. So like we don't really have to budget, but we also like kind of mentally know like, oh, this is about how much our expenses is every month. But it's not like a strict like we have $100 going out budget for the month and we cannot go a penny over it. Like we're not like that.
Both of you guys aren't those types of people who like
No.
need it.
No. So for us, there's not that gender difference like you were talking about. Maybe he'd say something different. I don't think he would though.
I'm
I'm
like
like-
listening to this whole conversation.
Well, he can only
Is he
hear
gonna-
me. So I'm like looking over to see if he's like,
Like, what are you guys talking about? Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting because like the dynamic between Andrew and I, obviously he makes probably 90% of our money and I contribute a very small amount compared with my business and stuff. And then I do most of the like child care and stuff. So it's an interesting dynamic because as that person, I also sort of feel like I don't have the opportunity to like, or the authority, I guess, to say how we manage money and like what he does with money
That is hard.
because I don't make the money.
Yeah.
You have the
Uh,
authority.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
because
have
it's
the
also
authority.
both of your money. Like it's a shared,
Yeah.
I don't know. I get that
Yeah.
though.
And I mean, I do. Like
I
logically,
know it's like
I
hard
know.
to feel it. Yeah, but like
Yeah. So that's why I'm interesting about the different dynamics like with each relationship because
That is
we're
interesting.
I feel like all in different situations too.
Yeah, I want to hear from Jenny and Kenzie first, but I kind of want to go back. I
Yeah.
had a thought for later. I'll save it.
Will you guys share if you guys share bank accounts?
We kind of do.
That's the thing. We share all of our bank accounts and all of our credit cards. The only separate accounts we have are like our business accounts.
we share everything.
Scott and I only share we have we actually have 3 savings accounts technically. This is weird to explain. So we have the rent one like I was talking about. And then we have our regular one, which we don't really use anymore because we just opened a high yield savings account, but that is attached to one of my cards. So I only have access to view it, but like it's our combined one. And then we have our own credit cards, one shared credit card, and our own checking accounts. So
Yeah, like Abby, do you
We don't really.
So you guys share credit card, like you have logins to Andrew's credit card?
Yeah, so it's interesting because we kind of have like I can't really see what's on some credit cards because I'm only an authorized user of the ones that are in his
Yeah.
name. But then like I didn't even have a credit card that was in my name until like 6 months ago. So now I have that he can't see, but we have the login so we can like
Yeah.
still share the information, but it's not on our normal accounts.
So that's how it is for our shared one, is that Scott's an authorized user for it, so he technically can't see it, but I just tell him where
Right.
it is.
Right.
And we also can see each other's. So technically our checking accounts are shared, but like one is mine and one is his.
But
But
under your name and stuff
yes,
like that.
but we both can
Yeah.
see them because it's all just on our
Mhm.
same banking app.
What about you,
Nice.
Jenny?
Yeah, it's like all shared. Like we only use my credit cards, my Southwest and Chase Sapphire.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like an authorized user, but like he's just logged into them and like can see all the charges and everything. And then we share checking, like everything's shared. It's just all on one thing.
Yeah. So, like, you guys have been in different situations, though, throughout your relationship. Like, you switched off, like, he was going to school, you were working, now you're going to school, and he's working. So, what's that like?
It's it was actually kind of hard this last week because he was getting frustrated with which this was so hypocritical and annoying because he was like getting frustrated that so much of his paycheck had to go to my rent, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I paid for your entire life these
Mhm.
past 4 years, and like it literally paid for every single thing that's ever happened. And so we like fought about that, and then he was like, no, you're right, I'm literally a stupid dumb man that doesn't know anything. And I was like, that's correct. So now it's fine, his money's my money. Like, it was just that, and I knew that would happen. Like, I knew that once it was him earning the money, he was gonna like feel that.
Mhm.
And I'm like, get over it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it can be a lot of pressure. Like
Mhm.
when you are the breadwinner, so like I feel for it either way. Especially like if you're like managing the money, because even like if you're in a fine financial state, it like can be kind of stressful sometimes. But
Yeah.
It was so stressful for me, and I guess this is where I'll get into like Abby's question, because I like the gender thing. Jacob and I are opposite. Like, I
Mm.
like a budget. I don't like creating a budget because that gives me anxiety and I don't know how to do numbers. But like,
But you like sticking to one?
yeah. And so being the money earner, it was pretty hard just seeing him spending. And I'm like, I don't spend money. Like, I truly like hate spending money. I only like to spend money on travel and like experiences, and even then I'm using like points and things because I like to save. And he's more of a like, I don't want a budget, I just want to do what I want. So we're like opposite
Yeah.
with
Interesting.
That's interesting. Kenzie, what is it like for you and Derek when with like your finances?
I mean, everything is separate. And he has budgeted in the past. I don't know if it's like a spreadsheet type of budget. After this summer, after going to 5 countries on a teacher's salary, I am a little poor right now. So Derek and I have like sat down and been like, okay, I have this much I can spend on food or entertainment, whatever, this week, and then I need to put this much down on, I need to put this much aside for my car, this much aside for my credit card, whatever. And like we kind of walk through that, but it's not like a spreadsheet where
Yeah.
it's very specific.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's hard navigating finances when you are a couple who is not married but still like has a shared life?
No, because
That's good.
well, it's
Yeah, that
interesting
is
that
good.
like like we're talking about this, like I feel like I don't have much to add because it's not really like a stressor. It's not even something that like Derek and I really talk about. Like we will switch off paying for things. And it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's
And
what I wonder, like, do you guys just split the rent in half and like
Yeah.
divide up utilities?
Yeah.
Or do you just do half of like
Split
do you
everything.
pay everything and then like with someone Venmos for the
Um,
paid bill?
Because I don't do numbers, he'll handle
Yeah.
like how much is due every month, and then he'll
Uh-huh.
Venmo me, and then my rent is just linked up to my bank
That's
account
nice. Honestly,
because I make more.
we love that.
Mhm.
That's kind
Gotta
of how
say
it is for like Scott and I. Like, so most of the time, like I was saying, it's like we do like $500 per paycheck to that one savings account. But there are some times where it's like, oh, we can do 400 or we can do 600, but like basically by the end of the month we have a goal for where it is at. And so it's kind of more like collectively let's get there, and then the rest, like we do very similar, like I'll pay for something, then he pays for something, or like
Mhm.
you have more money in your checking, so when we go to Winco you're gonna pay or I'm gonna pay. So
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
like it really isn't that stressful most of the time, but
Yeah.
Well, and I think it just is making me think it's interesting because the two of you guys specifically are both coming from like areas or situations where you
income.
have two incomes. Yeah.
well, and that kind of
Whereas-
feeds into probably why for us it's a little less stressful too.
Very true. Whereas, yeah, both Jenny and I are coming from single incomes. And then on top of that, I have a kid. So it's like
Yeah.
3 people living off of
Yeah.
one paycheck.
Yeah.
So it is interesting, I think, to see too how like in different stages of your life, you have like a different relationship with money,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know? And a different way like of dealing with it and figuring it out, because like in college, I think I was like I didn't have the same views and stuff or like issues as I do now. So that's interesting.
I think I want to do separate accounts. And like you guys probably felt the same, like growing up, especially in the church. I feel like that was always such a like people acted like that was a
Yeah.
really bad thing.
Yeah.
And like
I don't know
it's
if I ever
something
heard
that's
anything
like
about it. Like
really? I like always heard stuff about it.
maybe I just like
Like-
wasn't paying attention.
And but I would like separate just like it is just easier. And I think even like with stay at home like moms and dads, like it's easier because I know one of our close friends, us here, like the part of their paycheck is like immediately deposited into the like caregiver's bank account. Like
Yeah.
I think that just makes sense. And I think like I would rather have it like Jacob and I just get a certain amount each month to like have fun with, and then everything else just
Yeah.
goes to like savings and rent and stuff.
Yeah.
That's
I
such a
don't
good
know.
point, because I think like for me, maybe that's why it's a little less stressful, because like yes, our money is our money, but it's also like separate to a degree, and so like we
like you have it all designated for a different thing.
yeah, and like we trust each other that like we're not going to pay interest on credit cards, and we're going to obviously like
Mhm.
pay our bills and stuff like that, and
Mm-hmm.
we are very responsible. But then it's like nice having things separate, because like one, like I always think about like gifts, like if I want to surprise Scott with something, I have my own credit card I can put it on that like
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to ruin the surprise, or like I don't have to feel guilty about like buying, I don't know, like getting my nails done, because like I'm going to be the one paying for it, you know?
Yeah.
That sounded like
I will
crazy.
say that is like the worst part of the whole budgeting situation between Andrew and I. Like, it literally sends me into a spiral sometimes. Like every couple of weeks or like every month. And he knows this, like we talk about it, but every so often he'll be like, oh, I'm going to update the budget. He goes through all the transactions and he puts them in the categories and like, you know, and I'll just hear from the other room, like, what was this $40 purchase from Sephora? Or like whatever. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I need a new face wash. Like, I don't know. Or like, I'm sorry, I need a shampoo and conditioner. Like, you know, and it's like, he's not judging me. He's not saying I'm not allowed to do that, but it's the act of even being like asking that almost makes me feel like, oh no, I shouldn't be doing that, which is my own issue. Like, it's my own. He just poked his head in. Is laughing. It's my own problem, but that like that's the thing about having shared accounts and shared budgets that does make it so difficult, is like a lot of times, especially in my position where I'm like not the person making the money, so then I'm like, I'm not allowed to spend your money, and then you're gonna be here asking me why I'm spending your money, and that can be hard.
No, that's like a trigger for Jacob too, like, cause I ask, but only when I like don't know where it's from. Like if it's like $95 at like some weird like acronym, I'm just like, literally, what is this? Like, are we getting scammed, or like did you make a real purchase? But that like triggers him, and he's like, I get to spend it. Like, I don't know. It's just like he gets to do what he wants. But then I don't know. It's just so hard. Like, I don't know, because it is hard, like when I earn money, and even now when I'm not the one earning money, it's hard seeing one person in the relationship spend more than you, which is kind of like, that is something that's like my issue, where I really don't spend money, but then it kind of feels unfair because it's like, so you get to spend more like because I spend less. I don't know. Right. So I feel like it should just be like divided. You get your own separate thing. I don't have to see that he's spending money all the time, and I get to just have all of that money billed forever.
Yeah. I think it's like a little healthier for some people.
Sure, well, and I think it's just being very aware of like what your preferences are, because I think, again, I'm going back to us obviously because that's what the conversation is, but for us, we both go through different phases where like we're like, okay, let's like look at our finances, look at our expenses, and like budget, but like not like a full budget, like spreadsheet and all. Sometimes literally a spreadsheet though. I think for Scott, he prefers having a spreadsheet just because it's like visual. But like we both do that off and on. And I think like what I was going to mention earlier is, I think maybe it's not so much about like, in some situations, the gender norms, but I could see it being like the person who's wanting to have more of that like literal budget could potentially be the person who is quote unquote the breadwinner. Because like Jenny, you were saying how like that's kind of how you are, and for most of your marriage up until this point you were the breadwinner, whereas like for Scott and I, it's pretty equal. I mean, now we literally make the same amount, and so it also makes sense that like we both kind of do that, whereas like you were sharing with your sisters, I don't know all their situations, but like maybe their husbands are more the breadwinners. So I wonder if that's more of the correlation opposed to the actual gender norm side of it.
Well, one of my sister who I was talking with this about is in the same situation as me, but actually she doesn't even have a job. Like I even contribute just a little bit, but she is like full on mom mode, which is awesome. And then the other person I talked to is actually in the opposite situation where she makes all the money and the husband is the one who takes care of the kids. So yeah, I just thought that was interesting, but not necessarily like I didn't think it was like a rule across the board. But
I'm sure there's correlations though.
Yeah.
Well, and like historically, like typically the male is the breadwinner, so like that would make sense that you often see that in a relationship.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I have a question for. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it, Jenny.
for Mackenzie. Let
Hmm.
me try to think of what it was. Like, so when one of you doesn't have money, which I feel like you guys have kind of ran into this because like Derek wasn't able to work for a little bit, and at some points in your relationship you
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you just pay for each other and like don't think about it, or do you like kind of keep track and like you owe the other person? Because like I feel like when you're not like obviously you're in a serious relationship, but I still feel like when you're not married, like you don't owe that to the other
Yeah.
person to like
Totally.
take care of them financially. So like
Yeah,
what do you
if-
guys do?
Like there have been times where I didn't have a job or Derek didn't have a job, and the person who does have a job, the person who has a job will just pay for
Mm.
everything. And that was before we moved in together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't like, oh, you owe me this much.
Nice.
I feel like that would be like, for me, putting myself in those shoes, that would be a hard mentality to have of like, oh, I'm paying for this now, but you owe me later in a relationship. Like, if I were in that situation you were describing, I feel like I would have handled it how you did.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just couldn't
Yeah.
imagine going to Scott and being like, okay, Venmo me now $10 for your
Oh my
Chick-fil-A.
gosh.
Like,
oh,
that
you got
just-
your first paycheck?
you got your first paycheck. It's actually mine because I've been paying for you. Like, that feels
Well-
so weird.
So since Derek and I are just dating, it's interesting because like the dynamic has changed since like the first year we started dating to like 5 years in. Like now I would offer to help Derek pay for classes or loans or whatever.
Mhm.
Like I would be
Mhm.
doing that, but then it's like a year into the relationship, like one time I was like really struggling with money, and Derek was making a lot of money, and he offered to pay for like a portion of my rent, which was super cheap at the time. But
Yeah,
it's like
$100.
but it's like that was like an awkward situation because like we had only been dating for like a
That's
year.
hard.
Right.
Ugh,
And then you also think too, like, if you keep score though of everything too that you spend, one day, let's say this hypothetical couple, like didn't end up together, and then they're gonna be like, this girlfriend I had was crazy. She made me pay for her rent and her school,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I was even thinking about like, Andrew paid for my last semester of college and we weren't married yet. No, my last year of college, and we weren't even married yet for like the first 3
Dang.
months, which like we were engaged. We had a wedding date. We were getting married. But there's still the part of me that was like, if we break this off and he's paid for my school year, like
yeah.
that makes me such like
See,
a terrible person.
The way I see it, like if Derek and I broke up tomorrow, like I would not regret
Mm-mm.
like a dime that I spent on him. Like
And I think that's so healthy.
That is. Well, okay.
I also really like, and this is like somewhat of a weakness, I love buying people things.
Yes. Oh
And
my gosh.
like
Mm.
treating people to things. That
Mhm.
brings me a lot of happiness.
I need to not do that as much.
Yeah.
Well, a thought that I had when you were talking about that though, Kenzie, about how like a year into dating, that would have like, it would have been fine, but like you would have felt kind of weird about it. It's
Mhm.
crazy to think about people like in that context specifically, people who get married before they've even been together for a year or like known each other for a
Mhm.
year.
Right.
Because I think of how
Mhm.
like financially you have to build that trust too.
Yes.
And like
Yeah.
if I were to have gotten married to someone before like a year of knowing them or a year of dating or something, I think that would have been really hard financially to like build that trust or at least not feel like a little weird about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Like I've never
Yeah.
I've always thought about like, oh, that's so fast and that's so crazy, but I didn't think about the financial side because at that point like
Like
you're sharing an income.
Mhm.
I don't know. That just
You're
kind of
blending your
That
finances.
is crazy. Actually,
my mind just went on a tangent with that because I was like, that's
And
hard.
kind of
Yeah.
like the dynamic that like Abby and Jenny were talking about, where like if there is one person who's the breadwinner, and like it's kind of like, oh, my money's being spent on this or it's being spent on that. Like if you're a newlywed and there is like one breadwinner, like that is extra like awkward, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
that could cause some issues.
Yeah.
Well, going back to what Jenny said too about like growing up in the church and stuff like that, how she like thought that everybody was supposed to share your income. I agree with that. Like I always grew up. I don't know if it was necessarily a church thing or just a culture thing. Like everybody told me basically that like when you get married, you share your finances like right off the bat. Andrew and I got married and like within a month we like shared our bank accounts, like everything. It happened so fast because I was like, that's what you do. So if you also have that same mentality where it's like, okay, we're now just blending everything together, that could be really good or like really bad, because then maybe
Yeah.
one person also thinks like, oh cool, this person can now provide for me and I can
Yeah.
just live off of
And-
them.
And
You
to
know?
go from a position where all of the money you make is being spent on yourself and you have complete control over your money, to, oh my gosh, now I'm responsible for this other person. Like it's almost like an unnatural transition, and it's awkward.
Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah. And honestly, why does it have to be that way? It's probably just rooted in like all the antiquated and sexist laws where like women couldn't even get credit cards or bank
Right.
accounts without a man. So like
Right.
why do we even have to do that today? Like I the only reason I think Jacob and I did it was because he was in school and like
Yeah.
that's just what made sense. But even
Mhm.
then we probably could have, I mean, it just made the most sense at that point. It probably would have been hard to like split things up. But yeah, it's all rooted in when you think about it, everything comes back to sexism, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Always
Well,
got
yeah,
that full
like-
circle moment.
Like I remember when I was when I first started college, I was obsessed with The View, and they talked about like finances, and they talked about how some couples like will have separate bank accounts, and that was like shocking to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if
Yeah.
it's because like I grew up in a more like traditional environment, but like that was a foreign concept to me. And I thought I was like, and I was kind of uncomfortable with that idea of having separate bank accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always like
so interesting.
that always to me was told that like that's dangerous for your relationship.
Yes.
Because,
Yeah.
like
It
you
was
don't
always
know
like,
what the other person's
Yes.
doing, and
yes.
like you
See-
that can cause more fights
like,
and all that stuff.
Maybe if you got married within 3 months, yeah, you don't know
Yeah.
what they're doing.
I that's like going
It
into
makes
a whole
me-
other conversation, not that we
I know.
shouldn't, but that just goes to show like the need for control that some people have.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
again, not that we need to dive into that, but like, I don't know. For me, especially financially, like it comes back to trust. Like you need to be able to trust whoever it is that is contributing to your like
Yeah.
finances, whatever your situation
And I
is.
think that like it's not even people like getting married young, it's not even age wise and just like, oh, life experience and everything like that. Like part of that life experience is finances and like how do you manage money. And when you're in your 20s and you're in college and you don't have that many expenses or whatever, your experience with money is very different. And like I think that's a valuable lesson that people have to also mature in that way, in addition to all the emotional and mental ways too, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Before they can
Yeah.
like also be like, hey, let's share this with another person. Because when you add more
Right.
people into the mix, it just makes it more complicated.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry if this is kind of going off topic, but since you guys got married young, do you feel like you've had to like mature in a lot of different ways while being married, like financially, whatever? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say.
I would say financially, uh, just being more aware of what I spend my money on. Like, I feel like in college, I had no money. And even though bills were so cheap, like, I was just so broke. And
Oh, it
so,
stresses me out to think about college.
Yeah.
like, literally, when
Literally
I,
living off of like $30 in my bank account for 2 weeks.
yeah. And like,
being
you'd
cold.
make
Yeah.
it work. And so, like, I
Yeah.
think of going from that to living at home, working full time for pretty much 2 years and then getting married. Like, I was in a situation where I did not have to worry about how much money I spent because I
Yeah.
had virtually no bills. I had my car payment and that was it. And
Yeah.
then to go from, like, we still lived with my parents obviously for the first year we were married. But then to having a dual income and not really having any bills, and now to like
Yeah.
having a lot of bills and
Yeah.
more income obviously. But I feel like the maturing for me has just been like getting away from that mentality of like, oh, swipe the card, like I've got the money, I'll worry about this on my next credit card statement. Not that
Mhm.
I've ever been bad about that. Like, I don't think I've ever paid interest on a credit card, but there's been months where I'm like, oh, I'm not putting anything into my savings. And so
Mhm.
that's where I think
Well-
my maturing is still happening. Like, this is not like, oh, crack the code, I'm good, I'm great at money now.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what I would say I'm currently going through, is like being more financially responsible, and it's still like a work in progress.
Yeah. Well,
And
like
other areas, but
even just being made aware of like how much things in the world cost and how fast everything can add up. And like, of course, inflation is a big factor in that and everything like that. But it's like, you like in college, I literally was like, I'm so financially independent. I pay for just about everything on my own, blah, blah, blah. No, I did not. There were so many parts, like even just car insurance, health insurance, like
Yeah.
phone, my phone bill, all that stuff. I wasn't covering that like my parents were. So you realize, like, at least I did, that things add up and there's so much more to consider. And it's not like what I initially thought would be a good salary, which is just so frustrating, like, is not at all. And so when you're yeah, it gets so complicated, especially when you're like me, where it's like, okay, in the world we live in, we need to make this much to be able to live this type of life, and I can't really have a job because of these reasons and all this stuff, and makes it complicated,
For me, like, getting married young didn't really make anything mature money-wise for me. I think, like, I've always worried about money, like, since I was a kid, and I've always been pretty good with it. Like,
Mhm.
once I got a job in college, I was able to, like, save, and, like, I was always very cognizant of my money. And, like, when Jacob and I got married, I was able to pay off his, like, credit card debt. Like, I guess the way I didn't mature, it was just hard. Like, it's hard getting in a relationship with someone, and, like what we've just talked about. Like, it was just difficult to do. But I don't think I, like, necessarily learned anything new, except that, like, I guess I have to be more chill thinking about how people spend money. Like, I don't know.
Jenny, I just can't really remember. How long were you and Jacob like dating and engaged? Like, what was like timeline, that process? Does that question
kinda
make
like
sense?
Yeah, I think like November 2017 together, got married August 2019.
Oh, okay. Oh, actually, that's very similar to Scott and I.
Really?
I think when did you get engaged?
It's like a year and a half.
February.
Okay, so you
2019.
guys had been dating longer than we were dating, but I think our engagement was longer.
Oh, I thought you meant like same years, and I was like, oh, I didn't know you
no,
guys
no, no, no.
dated
Sorry, I
2017.
just meant like timeline.
Yes, no, yeah.
For some reason, I thought you guys were dating for
No.
like 3 years.
No,
Interesting.
It's also thinking about marriage and stuff like this interesting because whenever I see people get married really quickly, and part of the thing that goes through my head is like, do they know how to even like sustain the or not sustain financially?
Oh, yeah.
Sustain?
Yeah.
Like take care of themselves, and now they're going to be doing it together. And I was always told like, oh, well, you figure it out because you love each other. And yeah, like those first few years of marriage are supposed to be hard, and they're
That's
supposed to be a struggle.
the worst advice.
So frustrating. I know. But, you see, okay, they'll figure it out. Like they're young, they're in love. Maybe they're literally 19 years old. I've seen so many people 19 years old get married so fast. And I'm just like, are you ready to even financially support yourself? And now you're going to support another person too. And it's like, don't rely on I don't know, in my brain, I'm always just like, can you handle this?
Well, that's
yeah.
I think that like, again, this is another topic, but I think that that's what like a lot of people in their like 40s and 50s, they're struggling with if they got married at like 18, 19. Like they wake up, they're like, holy crap, I don't know how to have fun by myself. I had a kid at 18 and I've never been by myself. I don't know how to take care of myself. I don't know what my hobbies are. I don't know what I enjoy. I don't know how to spend money on myself. Like,
Yeah.
and it kind of sends them into like this existential crisis.
totally.
That is so hard because it's like, I think that's why it's so important, like relationship or not, marriage or not, you have to keep investing in yourself. Like not money, investing just as a word.
Like time.
Yeah,
and
like
other things
build
as well.
your own hobbies, go out. Like that's why I think like, again, not to quote Barbie, but girls' nights are important and stuff like that. But it's like, you need to have a balance. Like I have really valued, I feel like the last year we've done a lot more stuff as like our girlfriends. And it's been so fun for me because it's like, okay, this is part of my identity outside of my relationship that is still really important to me. But then also like finding hobbies of my own that's just me, not anyone else, just like my own Brittany time.
Yeah.
Because then it's like I feel way more confident in other areas of my life too. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really easy, I think, to lose yourself when something like as you progress through life, as you get married and now attach another person to you all the time, it's like you start to lose a little bit of those things you love just because you're dedicating time to them.
Yeah.
And then when you have a kid and you can lose yourself again there. And maybe you get a new job that's like requires a lot of time. Like it's so important to be feeding the things still that you love as you go through all those stages.
Yeah. Because you're right. It could be anything that you lose yourself into.
Yeah.
Also, this is not a new idea, and I'm not unique in saying this, but it's so fun. I've heard this said for so many years on like podcasts especially, but it's so fun to invest in a hobby that you enjoy and find new people or grow new relationships through that. Like,
Yep.
there's a girl I work with who we're both taking the same class right now. It's a creative writing class, and it is so fun. Yeah, it's like, it's fun.
I didn't know you were doing that. That's fun.
Yes. I mean, it's a 4-week class and I've done 2 weeks of it. So it's not like I started this like.
Are you going to
That's
write the next fan
exciting.
fiction?
Wait,
Yes.
write a friend fiction.
Once I
with
finish
us.
my class, I can.
That is so exciting.
But it's been so fun, and it's like fun to see her at work because she let me borrow ACOTAR actually, and so we like have bonded a lot this year over like different books that we've enjoyed. But now to have like this very specific thing that we can talk about and be like, oh, like how did you like the assignment? Like that was fun, or just even knowing that like she's doing it too. It's like this is so exciting because like it's kind of scary to do things on your own and be like, I want to take a creative writing class. But then like I
Yeah.
literally thought about that. And the next day on Instagram, I saw her post about it. And I was like, which one? I think we're doing the same one. And we had. And so
That's so amazing.
it's like so fun though. And so I just am a true believer now. And like, if you have a hobby or any interest, like invest in it and you'll be able to like find people around you to relate to on it. And then like, you're just building up like that network in your life, which is so fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anyways,
I want to
tangent.
add to that too, as a message to our generation who believes in side hustles, and even like in this conversation of finances and money and trying to pay for life, like not every hobby has to be turned
No.
into like
Yes.
being able to
A-
monetize it.
No.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
It can be
I
for
was
fun.
somebody, yeah, it can be for fun. Like I was somebody who literally has been, I turned my hobby into a job, like, and it will drain you.
Yeah.
And like,
Yep.
yes, it's super fun to be able to do that and super cool that you could make money doing things you love, but also you can spend money on like arts and crafts and not have to sell any arts and crafts. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
That is so good to bring up.
Yeah.
Well, because it's so true how you say like it can be exhausting and then like you lose your hobby
Mhm.
almost because now your hobby is
lose
your
it.
job. And that's not
Yeah.
fair to you. Like you deserve to have those hobbies. That's just
Yeah.
your like you taking out of your own life and like not worrying about work or not worrying about school, whatever it is, and like having something that's just for enjoyment.
Yep. And it gives us room and our freaking ADHD brains that we're all coming to realize that we have, that like sometimes a hobby that you love for 6 months isn't going to be a lifetime hobby. Like
Yep.
maybe you'll still
Yep.
love it in a year, but it's not going to be a thing you do every day anymore. And if you make it a job, then you're forcing yourself to do something that maybe you're going to grow out of eventually, you know?
6 months.
And you have to
is-
like
yeah.
know that for yourself, that like,
Yeah.
okay, this is something that I can't do forever. You have to set realistic expectations.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a side note, I want to say something about the ADHD brain. I'm so sorry. I keep going on tangents. I was listening to this podcast about like women with ADHD, and this woman was like, you know, we're kind of like trained to think that like, oh, if you pick up all these hobbies and then drop them, it's like embarrassing because you can't stick to something. You're irresponsible, whatever. And she's like, you know what? I have all of these new skills now that I can like transfer
Yes.
to so many different areas in my
Yes.
life, so many different like other hobbies or potentially to another career. Like,
Yeah.
so if you are someone who like picks up hobbies and then drops them quickly, like just don't be ashamed. It's
Yeah.
another skill to put in your toolbox.
Yep.
Seriously.
Facts.
That's such a good
I think-
point.
I think I've said that before, like said this before in a previous episode, but like with my obsessive personality where like I do that and I stick to a thing for like a few months and I move on. I'm still grateful that I do that because like every time I walk away learning something new. And like, yes, I had an obsessive phase where I was learning or guitar and playing every song I could hear on guitar. But you know what? I could pick up a guitar and play it just for fun now if I
Yeah.
wanted to, you know? And yeah, anyways, that's so funny. Yep. I agree.
I love that.
Love that.
Okay, well, I guess last question, just before we wrap up. I want to know maybe what are some like financial decisions or things related to money that like looking back on the past 5 years,
Ugh.
you guys maybe like that you've learned from, you know, something that you regret or that you discovered that you really like.
Mine is so embarrassing. I'll have to say it like when we're not recording. But like literally this, like I've had a credit card for a couple years, but haven't really used it. And then this past year I've like needed to use a credit card more. And
Mhm.
I honestly like didn't know how to really use a credit card. Like, I wish I had been trained or like looked into it more or something, because that can
Yeah.
get very tricky.
Well, and did your parents, I had this experience, so I wonder if you relate, basically drill in your head that like credit cards are evil and that you should never touch them?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yes.
I had that experience. And it wasn't until I got my first credit card with Andrew. In fact, he got it, not even me. And I'm like, this isn't scary. And actually, like, this requires me to buy a house, or this allows me to buy a house.
Right.
Car,
Well, and
all
that's the
those
thing.
other
Like,
things.
I didn't want to touch my credit card. Like, and so
Yeah.
I just, whatever. And then I like relied on it too much. And now I'm like paying the price. And like, so I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Abby, yes, I thought credit cards were terrifying and that they were worst case scenario only. And
Yeah.
it wasn't like I had a credit card since my sophomore year in college. And I did not use it until dating Scott, actually. And then he like explained like that you get cash back or you get rewards and like you just need to pay it off every month. And so
Yeah.
if it wasn't for Scott, I would still probably be putting everything on a debit card and not getting
Yeah.
any rewards. So
Honestly,
I relate to
that's
your experience.
the most sad thing ever is, you're missing out on all the
Yeah.
travel
But
points and whatnot.
It is something where you do need to like I get so scared for like kids who are like applying for credit cards and then don't like understand it because like
Yeah.
I think there needs to be more education around it or like
Totally.
some way
Same with like student loans.
yes
Like,
Yeah.
yes because it's something like it's one of those where it's like you shouldn't fear it but also you need to respect it almost like it's
yeah.
not something to abuse, but something that I have found in my life to be one of the best things ever is financing with 0% interest, whether it is a phone, a car, any time you can see a deal and you can make the payment and it's not ridiculous and it gives you an option to finance something with 0% interest. I
Zero. Yep.
absolutely do it
Yeah.
over paying in full. I think use someone else's money to get what you need. That's how I feel. Like my
Interesting.
car is 0% interest, so I have no incentive to pay it off early because like it's borrowed under someone else's money and I'm not paying the price of
Yeah.
it. And
That's
same thing
amazing.
like obviously if you can pay for things in full, absolutely do it. Don't overspend and stuff like that, but take advantage of no interest financing things. That would be my I guess piece of advice
Interesting.
or like thing that
What's
I
the
have
name of-
found to benefit me. Yeah.
Gordon Ramsay would have a lot
Yeah.
to say about that,
Oh,
Brittany.
yeah. And you know
He
what?
hates
Is that his? Is that who it is, or is that the chef?
Whatever.
Dave
No,
Ramsey.
Gordon.
Sorry,
Dave
sorry,
Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey.
It's like,
Gordon?
wait a second.
He's in here cooking it up.
Yeah.
I knew who you were talking about, but
He would also have a lot to say.
That's
Yeah.
fine. And you know what? He would hate this episode and roast us all constantly. But in my experience, I have found that to be beneficial. And honestly, on a side of something I kind of minorly regret, I bought my computer last month and I kind of wish that I had done the financing option on it
Mm.
because now I'm literally paying for it this month and that makes me sad. So-
yeah.
So does
That's all.
0% interest like are those does that like run out? Like is it on a like it's 0% interest for this many months?
So it depends
'Cause I
on
feel
what
like
it
that's
is.
what I usually see.
So, like-
Sometimes I've seen that, but
Yeah, it
Not all
depends
the
on what it is,
time.
but like my car, for example, it is
Yeah.
a 5-year term and all 5 years it's 0% interest. So at the end of the 5 years,
Dang,
I will
girl.
pay off my car and have not paid a cent of interest on it.
that is literally
Yes.
amazing.
Exactly. And it was a promotion that Toyota had going on at the time, and I don't think they will ever do it again. And interest rates are horrible right now. But
Yeah.
that's why I say if you find stuff like that, take advantage of it. And yeah, like be careful on it. Like make sure it's not like, oh, just the first 6 months and then it's like double the interest. But
Yeah.
at least all of the things that I'm aware of and referring to, it's the entire financing term is no interest. So
Yeah.
I
See,
But
that's
even
like-
if it is on a term, that still can be a good benefit.
Totally.
Depending on what it is. Like Andrew did that with his
Yeah.
student loans. It was like 6 months and he paid them off all in 6 months before it started accumulating interest.
oh, I
And
wish.
that's been so helpful. So
Yeah. What were
Yeah.
you gonna
Yeah,
ask, Jenny?
those student loan payments resume next month.
yeah.
Not for me. I have
Oh,
student-
nice.
That's not saying I don't have student loans. It's saying that
You're
when
still in school. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay for them. Yeah.
F you, Biden.
I know, literally. Freak
F you.
Broken hand
But
hearts to
also
Biden.
heart because.
But also, I voted for you.
Yeah. Okay, for me, I don't even know. One thing that like I can think of, which I'm kind of opposite, and Dave Ramsey would like me for this, even though I'm anti Dave Ramsey, is I hate car payments.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, except for our most recent car, we always bought our cars just full cash, like would pay for
Mhm.
them. Because I just hate having a monthly payment. Right now, it's not bad. Our payment's only $150 a month
That's
because
amazing.
like we put a
That's
really big
awesome.
down payment. But I still hate it, and I'm against that. But that's not really. Let me think. This isn't like a real thing. I don't know. I don't really have like regrets or any. I feel like one thing I really like and that I don't see a lot of people do is like just spending less in the things that like don't matter, like so that you can
Hmm.
do more of the fun things. Like
Mm-hmm.
I personally, I just don't spend, but I feel like it probably looks like I do because of the fun things I do in my life. But like clothes, like I will not buy new clothes, and like if there's an outfit piece I really want, like I'll hunt for that, like at
Yeah.
Goodwill or at Plato's Closet, like things like that, and just like eating out when it's like not super fun to do it. Like I like to eat out with friends and like try something
Yeah.
new, but just like eating out every day, it's like why? Like that does kind of add up. And it only adds up for like fun things. Like if you want to buy a latte every day, follow your heart if that makes you happy. For me personally, like I want to go on trips. So like I'm
Mhm.
not going to buy a latte every day or like things like that because I want to spend my money on trips, and that's the thing I'm going to waste my money on.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
know, just spending less on things that like truly don't matter.
Well,
to
just
you.
like prioritizing, I think,
Yes.
what you want. And because I know people who like prioritize, like to them, getting their nails done every month is important to them. And like they
Right.
prioritize that in their budget or in their spending or whatever. But like other things, maybe not. And so if you recognize your priorities and like maybe things that you can sacrifice or hold back on, you know,
Yeah.
Get
then
your
you can kind of set yourself
priorities
up
straight.
that way.
Well, and that's what's important with just finding out what your priorities are. Like for me,
Mhm.
I try so hard to not eat out when I'm at work, like for lunch, which I
Mhm.
used to always do. And I'm like, if I'm doing this every day, this is $50 a week. Like that's
Well,
$50 that I
yeah.
could be then
Yeah.
like not going to like something fun with my friends or doing something else. So like that's one of the changes where it's like, yeah, I'll eat like $1 lunch that I made at home or something super
Mhm.
cheap just because I'd
Right.
rather save that money for something else. Because also actually it's way more than that because you cannot buy a meal anywhere for $10. So
Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
I
Except for In-N-Out. I was just
True,
thinking about that
true.
today. You
In-N-Out's
can get a
so
meal for
cheap.
$7.
I
And
love
Taco
it.
Bell.
the true ones.
Something that I was thinking about is like also if you really love eating out and you want to like cut back. Like I found this Greek restaurant that I'm obsessed with, but like it's like $15 plus for like the plate that I get. And so I am like trying to recreate it at home.
Yep.
Oh.
Yes, I do that all
That's
the
so
time.
smart.
Yeah.
Also, download all the freaking apps for the fast food restaurants you go to because they always have free things.
Always. It's
Yeah.
so
always.
crazy.
I just hate crowding my phone with so many apps.
It's worth it.
like
I don't give a freaking
my
heck.
least favorite thing in the world.
They don't take up
but
that
I
much
agree.
storage.
I'll do
You're good.
anything to save a buck. Also,
I know,
yeah,
I
I
just don't like looking
just
at
find
them.
find out ways to save money, queens.
Yeah.
Like for me, I don't even buy books. I always go through the library.
Yeah,
I just
but
don't buy
also I
things.
love having
I-
physical copies.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
if you love books, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Prioritize something else.
or
I will say my brother-in-law was talking to me about how the like 1 month they dedicated to not spending any money out on
I
food.
want to do that.
Okay. They said that was the most money they've ever spent on food for like
Because
the
of
whole year.
groceries.
Because of groceries being so expensive.
Yeah.
That it's actually more than when they were like occasionally eating out. So
When
I agree, but also that has changed my perspective.
when I
on
did
everything.
when I did Whole30, I was spending $100 a week on like Whole30 approved food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diets are so expensive.
Here's the
Yeah.
thing. Eat at home. Don't eat healthy. Ramen,
Yeah.
25 cents.
Yes, I know. Well, as somebody too who like now is like working out more and eating more meat especially and everything like that, I'm like it is so expensive to eat the right foods that I need to eat.
Yeah.
It's so annoying. So I don't know what my point is. My point is
Don't do it. Don't budget.
save money by eating at home, but also don't guilt yourself into thinking that you can't enjoy food out
Yeah,
every once in a
True.
while.
Yeah. Maybe.
Balance.
I thought you were saying what I want to do is not that. I thought you were saying that they were
Oh.
doing the thing where you spend the month. It's like no spend
Yes.
November, where you
I
just
wanna
don't
try
spend on
that.
anything.
Where
I
you
wanna
don't
do
spend
that.
any money?
Like on things
Yeah.
that aren't necessities.
So
Oh,
like
okay.
not eating
I
out.
could do that.
Not shopping, not getting your nails done, like things like that.
Yeah.
Like the only thing you can spend money on is like bills or groceries and like personal care items. So like if you needed a new face wash, you could go and get that. Is my
Yeah.
understanding because that's like
You
more
know
of a
what?
necessity.
Okay.
This sounds like it was created by a man who didn't want his wife or girlfriend to go shopping or to get her nails done. So no,
Specifically,
thank you.
maybe a Gen X or boomer man.
Yep.
As well.
I've actually seen it only done
I've
by
only seen women-
millennials. Yeah, and
Same. I
initiated
always
by
see-
women.
there you go.
just
I
sounds
only see the
like
girlies doing it.
Yeah, I've seen it female millennials. Millennials.
Mm.
I can't speak
Hearing-
Yeah,
anymore.
no, I will not
Yeah.
be participating.
Hearing that stresses me out though because like I said, Andrew and he has to stick to a budget and Brittany left.
We lost her.
Okay, maybe she'll come back.
the heck?
I'll just keep going and then hopefully she comes back in. Oh, there you are.
You all didn't get kicked out, right? Just me?
No, just you.
Cool. Anyways, I'm back.
Okay. So let me start over. Hearing that plan, the no spend November, stresses me out so much. And it's just because of my own personal situation, I think, because Andrew budgeting has every single dollar budgeted out for every single month, basically. And
Crazy boy.
there is very little left over after expenses with everything. So I'm like, that's my life already.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saving money. So, sometimes that can be more stressful for some people. But it's okay.
Yeah.
okay. Phase of life.
I think in conclusion, at the end of this, what needs to
Yes.
happen, Abby and I go home to our husbands. We're like, you do the budget, split up the extra money so that we have our own separate things.
Yeah.
Separate our bank accounts. Abby, in addition, you get all of your photography money to yourself. That is what I say. For me,
Yeah, that's kind of the world we've been living in recently. Anyways, keep
for
going.
me,
keep
I
going.
think I deserve a little bit more of Jacob's money than he does for fun.
You have to
and that's
think
just how I
cost
think
of
it should
living
go.
with
Yeah,
where you're
no,
at,
it's cost
Jenny.
of living.
I spend way less than him, but I just want more.
don't we?
No Spend November was created by Chelsea Wall. And Chelsea, you seem like a buzzkill, and I hate you.
How old is she? What year was she born in? She's a millennial.
Not sure, but I think she started it in 2016.
I know she's a millennial. I just know it.
The 31.
You know, sometimes you just gotta not spend. Like, if that's something that you
yeah.
need.
I say
Yeah.
pick
Yeah,
a-
she's deaf and millennial.
Yeah, see? I freaking said it.
And that's her plight in life, is being a millennial.
Sad
We
day.
love those
That's
people.
so true.
Well,
Just kidding. I don't.
I hope you all
Anyways.
enjoyed this episode. I loved this.
I hope it causes arguments in your home about money,
Yeah.
Yeah.
listeners.
I think we just all need to have more open conversations about the reality of the world we live in, financially,
Mhm.
economically, all those things.
It is so nice to talk about because, like, and not in like a, oh, now I'm more stressed or less stressed, but it's just like, I think people should just talk about money more. Like,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be so
Yes, yeah.
taboo. Anyways, that's
Yes.
all.
I hate that people
I
won't just
agree.
automatically tell you how much they make. I just want to know
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But also respect boundaries, Jenny.
Nope.
No,
Just
I
kidding.
refuse.
I love
I
that.
never
Yeah.
will.
Well,
Okay.
Anyways, thanks
Love you
guys for
guys.
joining the conversation about this.
yeah. See ya.
Cause-
Comment down
yeah.
below if you have separate bank accounts.
Yeah. We want to know. We'll do a poll on our Instagram.
I'm so interested
Yeah.
what everybody's dynamic is.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I really am.
Well,
Cool.
follow
All right,
us
bye.
everywhere.
Wonderful day.
See you next Monday. Bye.